Ce podcast est une diffusion du Cannes Football Club, l'alternative foot. Allez au cannesfootballclub.com.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of Soccer by Paul and Hady. We're here today with Paul. Hey, Paul, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Hady, I'm a little bit shocked, but I'm good.
I think we all are here on the all the supporters of the Montreal Impact are shocked about this the news that just came out today. We're the 21st of August, and we're doing this right now. It's about 6 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And the Impact has announced that Remi Garde was fired from his job as a head coach of the Montreal Impact, and he's been replaced by a coach that I don't really like, who's Wilmer Cabrera, the Colombian that was before the coach of Houston, the Dynamo of Houston, and I was relieved of his duties on the 13th of August, so only just about 8 days ago. So first of all, Paul, what are your impressions regarding that news? Like it's crazy, no?
Yeah, first of all, I was very surprised to learn the news this afternoon, and I think the timing of it as well is a little bit surprising, considering we're going into the final straight around playoff play, getting into the playoffs or not. And I suppose there's a couple of things, and it could go either way for the Impact. A new man could come in and maybe rejuvenate the side, and that's maybe what the owner and I guess the president are I guess that's how they look at this. But obviously it could also have the other effect, an adverse effect, and upset things. It's very, very difficult to understand, where we go from here. And of course we've got to give Wilmer Cabrera the benefit of the doubt. We've got to give him a chance. The only thing I would say is, looking at his past record, and yes, I know he won the US Open Cup with Dallas last year, and he got them to a conference final the year before. I look at his overall record in MLS, his win percentage, and it's actually not as good as Remi Garde's. So I must say I'm a little bit, I think, underwhelmed regards the appointment of the replacement. But I'm prepared to give him a chance, but I am surprised.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, let's start with the first half. I am surprised too. I'm shocked, to be honest, and I'm gonna give my opinion a bit later. But first of all, let's divide this podcast in two. The first part will be: is Remi Garde job? Is it normal for the Montreal Impact to fire Remi Garde with only 7 games to go? Is it normal that unfortunately we don't have all the infos, of course, but is it normal to take such a bold decision while we see that Remi Garde is still, and the Impact are still 7th in the East? They're able to maybe qualify for the playoffs. They're also in the final of the Canadian Championship. If I look at it from an objective point of view, and I look at the result, at the stats right now, where the Impact is, yes, they've been on a bad run in the last 7-8 games, but still, they're still in a good position to reach the playoffs, and they already achieved a Canadian Championship final. So, do you think that firing Garde right now is it a good decision?
I think, Hady, when you look at the history of Montreal Impact, certainly since they came into MLS and coaches, Cabrera is now their 6th in under 8 seasons. So, when you look at the volatility that statistic suggests, it's probably not a surprise. But when you think about the timing, with 6-7 games left, whatever it is in MLS, and the fact that the Impact are in the Canadian Championship final as well, I would have to say the timing is a little bit strange. But I mean, you're right. We don't know what's going on there behind the scenes, and maybe things have looked a little bit off lately. When I kind of think back on it. There's been the issue with Diallo. There's been the Novio thing. And of course, it was Remi Garde that brought Camacho in, last season too, and maybe that's something that's working against him. Omar Brownie has been disgruntled, so I don't know whether there's an issue around player discord or something like that, but that could be tying into whatever decision that Montreal Impact have made. But I'll stress, I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm just speculating in trying to understand this latest move. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts, first of all, I look at a coach's position right now. So there's two things. The first of them is we have to see exactly if there was, like you said, discord between the players and the coach. If the message was still being able, if Garde was still able to pass along his message, and he was able to pass along his tactics and his point of view and his way of coaching. If he wasn't, then I completely understand the decision. Now, I do also understand that right now, in the last 7 or 8 games, Remi Garde hasn't had a lot of good results. But if I look at it from an objective point of view, and if I look at it, if I just take away my love for the Montreal Impact and look at it objectively, I see a team that's still achieving their objectives. So for me, I can't really understand why we would fire someone like Remi Garde with only 7 games to go. I would have waited if the team had about 7 games to go, but we were like 10 points away from making the playoffs. I would completely understand the decision. If the team was eliminated by Cabrera FC a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks ago, I would have completely understood the decision. But right now, I think it was a bit premature, and I take a look at that decision, and that's the second part of the podcast of that news. The second part was that we directly hired another coach. I'm sorry, but first of all, the news hasn't been talked about by anybody on Twitter or any social media. So that means that the decision was done really fast, right? They fired Garde and they looked at the market. Okay, who's available? Oh, he was fired only 7 days ago. Okay, so we hired Wilmer and Cabrera. Was there, something like, did they think about that decision? I don't think so. And that's what really bothers me. We're going to talk about Wilmer Cabrera and what he did in the last few years with Houston. But first of all, do you think, Paul, that it was done hastily? Do you think that it was done really without really looking at the market and without, like, the decision was done too fast? Do you agree with me?
I think they've kind of been having their doubts about Remi Garde, and they've probably been looking around. But the fact that they've gone for a guy who's just been fired from Houston after a relatively poor season, it has to be said. It looks like they've grabbed the first guy that's available, and it also looks as if they maybe had enough of Remi Garde, and they decided that they needed to pull in a replacement. And there's a few coaches out there that you would have said, if you'd pulled them in as replacements, almost guarantee you playoff soccer, end of season, postseason soccer. I'm not sure that Wilmer Cabrera is one of those. I think it's as appointments of a new coach goes, it's a very ordinary one in my opinion. But I do think that they've probably been thinking over the past week or so that they needed to make a change, and it seems that with Cabrera becoming available, they've obviously talked with him and agreed terms and all the rest, and decided to make their move. But I am surprised, and I think we also think back to earlier on in the season when we actually did make a good start, and especially with the 6 away games, the 6 road games, and we haven't had Ignacio Piatti for pretty much not had him for all season, and when you think about that and how important he is to this Montreal Impact team, I think that's been a little bit rough on Remi Garde, and probably if you go to halfway through the season, the reason why we were where we were is probably he's helped the team punch above its weight. But yes, I mean, it's a results-based business, I suppose, as is the old cliche, and things have not been that good over recent weeks. But I'm not sure that we're going to see a huge change with the new coach.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? For people that really listen to our podcast, my podcast in French with Culture Soccer, I've been talking about Cabrera in the past, like this year and the past year too. To be honest, I'm not at all a fan of the coach. Okay, I'm not at all a fan of the coach. Usually, even in his good seasons, he was pretty good at home. And I'm sorry, but the team really wasn't good at all away. And it's something that really bothers me when you look at a coach, when they're not able, first of all, to win away from home. And in MLS, we know how much it's very important. Second of all, it's very, very even worse when you look at it and you see a coach that defensively doesn't know how to place his team. And, I've watched a few games of the Dynamo this year, and I can tell you that defensively, it's not really it wasn't at all a good team under Wilmer Cabrera. If you go look at all the comments of the Dynamo fans after the announcement was made, everybody was like flabbergasted and couldn't really understand the decision of the impact. And to be honest, I'm exactly the same way. I can't understand it. I'm just going to give you a few stats. I know you love looking at some stats, Paul. So I'm going to give you a few ones. Okay. Yeah. Cabrera was hired with Houston and in November 2016. Okay, so he was the coach in 2017, 2018, and until the 13th of August this year. Okay, he has 32 wins, 22 draws, 39 losses. That's the first thing. So first of all, we have 32 wins, 22 draws, 39 losses, and then if you look at his stats away from home, in 2 years and 8 months, he has 5 wins, 12 draws, 29 losses. I'm sorry, and that's the team that reached the conference final. That's the team that won the US Open Cup. Okay, the stats that I gave was only in MLS, I'm not including the US Open Cup. So you know what? Now we have a new format with the MLS, where if you're qualified in the playoff as the 7th team or a 6th team, you're barely gonna play one game home. Okay, you're gonna play all your games away from home. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me that every year that, let's say, potentially we're gonna qualify to the playoffs, the first game of the playoffs we're gonna be eliminated?
Yeah, I think the point you make is a good one as well about the stats, because his stats around Houston Dynamo actually don't match up to Remi Garde's stats even at the Impact. And if you throw in what he did with Chivas, it actually takes his win percentage down from like 34% to 32%, and Remi Garde's at the Impact in MLS games was around, I think, 39%. So yeah, that's a little bit strange. The other thing that we don't know, at least I haven't heard, I don't know if you have, is what sort of contract Wilmer Cabrera has received from the Impact. I mean, is he there for 2 years? Is he there for a year? Is he there to the end of the season? Do we know that yet?
No, we don't know yet. We're waiting for the press conference. That's going to be it's going to be tomorrow after the training. So I was told today, I asked a question on Twitter, and a lot of people answered me that it's going to be tomorrow after training. So I can't wait to see. I hope that it's only a contract for this year with some clauses to maybe extend it for a year or two if he's good. Or to be honest, I just hope that it's a contract for 3 months and that's it, because I'm really not a fan of Cabrera. I wanted to give you another stat, Paul, and I think this one you're going to like. If you look at 2019 with Wilmer Cabrera, he started, and that's a tweet from Nilton George from the CanFC, and he started the season with 7 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats, and right after, 2 wins, 2 draws, 11 defeats.
Yeah,
so
and I think that there's potentially something in that too. And if the reason why Montreal Impact have decided to let Remi Garde go at this stage because of maybe player discord. When you look at the stats around Houston and how they have done after a promising start to this season, you wonder if there's also been player discord down there also. And I'm not saying there is. I really don't know. I'm not maybe close enough to what's going on down at Houston Dynamo. But like I said, the appointment or the name that we've been given as Remi Garde's replacement is a little bit underwhelming from my perspective. But again, I got to stress we got to give the guy a chance. But he certainly wouldn't have been a name I'd have thought of if I'd known this morning that Remi Garde was leaving.
Yeah, true. You know what? I'm going to give him a chance too. You know what? I'm willing to give him a chance because either way, looking at the decision of the Montreal Impact, I think that right now all they're trying to do is to maybe do some sort of a shock to the players to let them know, you know what, you really need to qualify this year. So they're trying to really motivate in a certain way the players by firing the coach. I think that's how I see it. Maybe I'm not sure how they saw it, but I think that's the way they're looking at it. But you know what? I'm willing to give him a chance. But I've seen Cabrera in the past 24 months, 16 months, and I can say that I'm not convinced at all. I just hope that I hope that he proves me wrong. I really hope so.
Yeah, I think that I think when you look at the whole situation, I think maybe if the Impact management were sitting on the fence, they've maybe looked at maybe three of the transfers that Remi Garde had brought in, and I'm talking about Camacho, because obviously when you look at his salary, I think there's been an error made there, and that to me looks as if it's been Remi Garde's decision. Harry Navillo was obviously Remi Garde's decision, and of course the last one
that left the Impact.
Diallo, who's just left.
Yeah, and exactly.
I think it was Remi Garde who's probably been responsible for bringing Diallo in, and there was a lot of bad luck the first year with Diallo with his Achilles, and he came into the team this year and he looked as if he was going to be the leader that we needed at the back, and then something's gone off there as well, because over the last lot of weeks, months even, Zach has not been performing the way we'd seen him perform at the start, and he's looked more disgruntled. And of course we had I can't remember who the opposition was, but we had the game where he kind of went off the pitch and went straight down the tunnel, not going over to the bench. So he was clearly annoyed about something there, and I don't know whether this is tied into the decision that's happened today or not, but I would say that probably it's something to do with it.
Yeah, you know what? It's possible. It's really possible. I'm not saying that Remi Garde should have. I'm not saying that Remi Garde was perfect. I'm not a pro Garde guy at all, but I wasn't also against Remi Garde either. For me, I wanted to judge him at the end of the season. For me, it's very simple. When I look at a coach, I want to see progression from one year to another. Okay, last year we were eliminated in the semifinals of the Canadian Championship, and we didn't do the playoffs. We were 4 points short of the playoffs. Okay, now people are going to say, yeah, but last year it was only 6 teams that qualified to the playoffs, and this year it's 7. Yes, but last year there was a team. There was one team. This year there's one team more than last year. So you know what? It really balances itself out. Yeah. So if this year we qualify to the playoffs with Garde and we are in the final of the Canadian Championship, for me, I see progression. And for me, this coach has to be allowed to continue, unless there are some problems with some players, and that you talked about yourself, Paul. The only thing is that about Zakaria Diallo, from what I remember, Garde, he was talking about Diallo, and he said that Diallo went and talked to him and told him, listen, I really want to go. I have an opportunity that I don't want to miss to sign with Lens. Lens is a very good club in France. Yes, they're in Division 2, but they're one of the most supported clubs in France. Really, really, really amazing club. And you know what? I don't think it was really a problem between Diallo and Garde. I know they had a few problems before, but everything was sorted out from what I hear.
Well, Lance is I can understand the attraction of that move for Zachariah Diallo, because you're right, Lens are a big club in France. Okay, they're struggling a little bit at the moment in League Two, but I think maybe the thing about the Diallo situation is I don't think the Impact had sat down with him to discuss a new contract, so he perhaps felt that wasn't going to happen, and for whatever reason, right? So when the offer came in from Lens, he decided that this is really all I've got on the table. So I'm going to go. But let me ask you this: if we'd had Piatti all season, if we had been able to bring our new signings in at the beginning of the window rather than towards the end, and I'm talking about in particular Lapalainen and Bojan. Do you think we'd be having this conversation now?
No, I don't think so at all. And that's really something, it's really a good point that you're bringing right now, Paul, because if I look at some stats again, because that's how we can take a look at that, Piatti only played 8 games in MLS this year, and not all as a starter.
Yeah, and so, I would suggest he probably only played the first 3 when he was fully fit.
Exactly. So you know what? No, I'm sure that if we had Piatti 100% during the whole year, I'm sure that the impact will be way higher in the standings. And if we had Lapalainen, even if they came in July, in the beginning of August, Lapalainen and Bojan, I'm pretty sure that the team would have always would have already been in a better situation than they are right now, and Remi Garde would still be here. Don't forget also that they had a lot of injuries. We had Piet that was injured also. That's very important for the team. You know what? Right now it's done. Okay, I don't want to really, talk about what if Remi Garde was still here. Remi Garde is not here. I want to talk about Wilmer Cabrera. Are you confident? Do you think we're going to make the playoffs? Do you think Wilmer Cabrera is going to be able to bring something that Remi Garde wasn't able to?
Again, I have to stress we got to give the guy an opportunity, but there's nothing there that instills confidence in me. I don't, apart from the fact that maybe a new broom coming in and giving some guys a kick up the ass, if you like, maybe. But I don't see anything there that reeks of improvement around the guy who's leading the team from a coaching perspective. No, it doesn't capture my imagination. No.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You know what? I think that's about it. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Paul, regarding that decision and that shock that the Impact reserved us.
I don't think so. I think Remi Garde, and I know he's had his detractors and he's had some criticism lately, but I think he's, as you say, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes exactly, but if you look at the bare facts that everyone knows, that we know, it looks as if he's been a bit unlucky here, to be fair.
Yeah, unlucky, yes. Now he is. I'm not saying he's a saint and everything. I know he's a bit stubborn. He's always been a bit stubborn since his days in Lyon. But you know what? Yeah, he was unlucky just because he didn't have those players. He didn't have those players fit during the whole year. And yes, I think that the year would have been a lot different if he had them during the whole year.
I think it's a harsh decision, and really at the end of the day, the change could go either way. It could help propel us into the playoffs, but you know what? It could have the opposite effect too. I've just no idea what way this is going to go.
Exactly, me neither, but we'll wait and see. We're going to look at very closely at what's going to happen with the Montreal Impact in the next couple of weeks. And of course, we'll still here to analyze everything about soccer, not only the impact, but everything about soccer. We just did a few episodes on the impact, but we might talk about European soccer on another episode. So stay tuned. Let us know what you think about that podcast. Thanks a lot, Paul, for being available on such short notice.
Hey, no worries. Thank you for being available too.
Perfect, Paul.
It takes two to tango, right?
Exactly. It takes two to tango. Thanks a lot, everybody, and see you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.